not be silent. We will not obey. We will not let our government destroy our humanity.
If you look at young black and young white with a discerning eye and a careful hearing, they have been telling us, and we would not listen.
A year ago, thousands of Egyptians shocked the world when they took to Cairo's Tahrir Square. Fast forward 365 days and the iconic square is packed again.
You know, they're beginning to understand that the game is up, and yet in their desperation to preserve their dream, they want to remove any remaining traces of democracy from the system.
Years of anger and frustration spilling over in the Romanian capital. What began as a protest against healthcare reforms has widened into mass protests against the government.
Friday's protest culminates a week of numerous mass rallies across Poland.
Revolution. These people are also standing for change.
My wages didn't go up, but prices went up. Gas goes up, milk goes up, trains go up. How am I supposed to live?
Wall Street and the banker class, the people who actually run this country, they have a blueprint, and it's written in all of their Ayn Rand and Milton Friedman textbooks. Their blueprint is the destruction of the future of this generation.
Thousands of people are out marching here in Santiago today about people fed up with the inequalities of the current economic system. The dictators are going. Let's go.
It is happening in Syria, it is happening in Clapham, it's happening in Liverpool, and that is the nature of the historical moment.
My interest is in reclaiming human consciousness that's autonomous. That is our organic, natural, evolutionary place. We are not designed to be following orders. We are not designed to have authority figures above us or submissive people below us. That is not natural. It is not normal, and it's certainly not healthy. We are at a pivotal evolutionary moment in human history. And we're clearly witnessing biological and cultural evolutionary collisions. I don't know how it's going to shake out.
The wealthy of the United States are worried about global unrest. They're investing in arming their yachts. They have planes and cars with military-style security features.
They're starting to buy Predators. Drones, okay?
Yeah.
Now, they're not armed yet. They're just for spying. Oh, that's great.
This was meant to be the first post-ideological generation, right? This was meant to be the generation that never thought of anything bigger than our Facebook profiles and our TV screens. This was meant to be the generation where the only thing that Saturday night meant was X Factor. I think now that claim is quite ridiculous. We are now the generation at the heart of the fight back. We are now the generation that will stand with everyone who's fighting back.
Humanity marches on. You can fight it or fight for it. When we say revolution, we say it with love.
They're giving out leaflets to the public where they say that they want to see the money market system replaced by a resource-based economy where everyone's needs are provided for free.
Because we gotta sit around in this shit for the next 70 years, alright? Who do you think has to sit here breathing the tainted air, eating the mutated fish, watching the fetid reality shit on TV, create a nation of malignant imaginations? It's us, alright? We gotta sit here in this rancid bathwater. You know, this is a revolution. This may not be a revolution in the traditional sense, but this is a revolution of the mind.
We have to think as a human species. We have to think as Homo sapiens. We have to create global consciousness if we're going to move this third industrial revolution and create a new civilization, an empathic civilization. What we're seeing here is a defining moment for the human race.
We will not wait another moment in fear to stand up for what we know to be right. It is time we start meeting oppression with resistance.
Fellow citizens of the world, we are anonymous.
The hacker group Anonymous is fighting back, temporarily taking out several government websites.
But the hacker group called Anonymous was secretly listening and recording.
The hacktivist organization Anonymous has announced plans
They call themselves Anonymous. They are hackers on steroids.
Calls itself Anonymous. So who are these people?
Anonymous has no leaders to be targeted. Anonymous has no headquarters to maintain. And to become a member, you will not be required to fill out a questionnaire.
They're this shadowy and motley group of hackers and activists who answer to no one, drawn together by love of internet mischief.
Well, now they're evolving into this movement of social change, a real driving force behind the Wall Street occupiers. No surprise, they're hated by corporate security, but also hunted by the FBI.
The label, Anonymous, is only a symbol that embodies the collective actions of many autonomous individuals fighting against the injustice of the current system, and any individuals or organizations that hide in its shadow and exploit the world. Anonymous and a lot of other movements regard the internet as sort of independent from any government, and they regard a government interfering in the free flow of the internet as stepping outside of their jurisdiction. We are the 21st century militia. We are part of humanity's developing social immune system. We are those who have taken up arms to defend ourselves and others against those who abuse their positions of power. People who do not yet understand that there are no individuals. There is only humanity. If you believe, as we do, that the current system is a burden to humanity, then you are already a member.
We aren't a group. We're an idea. We're an expression of the anger that every person feels when they see injustice.
Back up.
It's a dark and disturbing vision. A world where riot police attack with impunity.
What happened? Got it. Shot! Get back!
Where democracy is corrupted by greed and dissent is crushed. That's how Anonymous sees America. And they say that's why they're fighting back.
We are Legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget.
Our weapon is not a gun, but our ability to operate with efficiency in the digital realm. Our ammunition is not bullets, but information. And our protection comes from the fact that we have grown out of the fabric of humanity itself. We cannot be stopped because we are not restricted by your rules. We cannot be beaten because we are not playing your game. We are the first stage of the new human evolution, born out of the collective human consciousness and augmented by the technologies of our time. The people should not fear their government. The government should fear the people. We are the people. The people are Legion. The people will not forget. The people will not forget. Expect us.
Mr. Cruz, come on, be a gentleman. Give me a sign on it. Yes! Jesus, cool, I love it. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
And now we have to take that information and that awareness and that knowledge and build a foundation for a new way, a new life.
Hi, my name is Marcin, farmer, technologist. I was born in Poland, now in the US. I started a group called Open Source Ecology. We've identified the 50 most important machines that we think takes for modern life to exist. Things from tractors, bread ovens, circuit makers. Then we set out to create an open source, DIY, do-it-yourself version that anyone can build and maintain at a fraction of the cost. We call this the Global Village Construction Set.
Lack of freely shared information unnecessarily prohibits economic distribution and general prosperity by keeping human innovation in the hands of only a few, while creating artificial material scarcity for most. The GVCS is an open enterprise platform that allows for true collaborative development of key productive technologies to foster the use of best practices accessible to everyone. We are accelerating the inevitable, a future where everyone has access to economic best practices. The Global Village Construction Set is an open-source enterprise kernel consisting of the 50 key industrial machines that reinvent local production, bringing wealth back to communities. The GVCS is phase 1 of the open-source ecology platform. It includes an open-source CAD/CAM solution to realize the promise of digital fabrication. Phase 2 is the use of the GVCS to create open source industries and sustainable communities, virally and worldwide, in parallel to the global economic status quo and urban sprawl. This is brought about by ethical supporters and entrepreneurs using the GVCS platform. Phase 3 is a new world of individuals and communities living beyond the constraints of artificial material scarcity. We all know the world is cracking at the seams. Despite having access to the most amazing productive technology, long hours, low job satisfaction, and poor distribution of wealth remain persistent global problems. The new paradigm requires an unprecedented level of collaboration necessary to make a comprehensive civilization starter kit kernel, which was impossible prior to the digital age. The GVCS technology spans multiple industry sectors, from agriculture, construction, energy production, and industry. Competitive advantage is a 24/7 development and improvement cycle around the world via open source collaboration, not to mention equipment created with lifetime design and at a typical 8-fold cost reduction than industry standards. Presently, we have completed 4 beta product releases: the automated compressed earth brick press, multi-purpose tractor, saw pulverizer, and hydraulic power unit. By April 1, 2012, we will release 13 further beta stage products in the microfactory, energy production, and construction areas. By the end of 2012, we will complete the remaining 33 products after an aggressive field testing and product documentation campaign involving a network of remote collaborators. By April 1st, 2012, we will recruit a project co-founder, CEO, and CTO to the core team to develop strategy, production, and to manage technological development. The OSE Fellows program will begin April 1st, 2012. Individuals who we train and fund to produce a beta product release and open business model on a time scale of 6 months. 2012 will also be spent largely developing standards and a platform to make this one of the most collaborative projects in the world. We are a distributive enterprise movement entrepreneur incubator. Movement entrepreneurs are tech-savvy individuals organizing the world progress by economic development. A distributive enterprise is an enterprise which maintains replication as one of its core values by publishing its own trade secrets openly. At heart, we develop open source technology. We train entrepreneurs via dedicated education programs, but since we are now in startup, we have initial trainees participate in both R&D and production runs. Open source hardware is the next trillion-dollar industry. We are not saying that we will be a huge corporation to achieve this, but instead that we will generate this value as a distributed movement.
It started when I was working in Kinsale in Ireland at the Further Education College there, and we started looking around for, there must be places who are using permaculture principles and sustainability thinking and systems thinking to work out how cities and towns and communities are going to get through peak oil successfully. And we couldn't find any, so we just improvised and did a 20-year plan for the town of Kinsale based on the idea that where we got to at the end could be better than where we start from now. I think what's changed for us really over the last couple of years has been firstly how the idea of peak oil has moved from being largely a fringe idea to something now talked about by a number of governments and a lot of leading organisations. It's really moved from being considered a very odd kind of idea to part of the political mainstream now really. This is a process that you start and you catalyse and you have no idea where it's going to go or what's going to come out of it. What does a local authority look like whose development plan for the next 20 years is based on the end of the age of cheap oil, on cutting carbon by 9% a year like we actually are going to need to? What does that look like? It's an enormous question, but what's really exciting is today I think we've sowed the seeds of people starting to ask those questions. It was really fascinating when about 2 years into transition and it really starting to gain some traction, people started coming along and saying, you know, transition is a really fascinating piece of design work. Transition is a design project. When faced with peak oil and climate change and the need for collective community responses to that, maybe we need to look at this as being a collective design exercise. How do we design a way through from where we are now to where we want to get? There's a lot of value, I think, in acknowledging the work that people do like this. You know, when you're actually doing work which comes to be seen as innovative or pioneering or whatever, it's generally the people who do that have ploughed a fairly lonely furrow for quite a long time. It's about the rewriting of stories, collective cultural stories, the myth, the narratives that we tell ourselves. The idea that we can just carry on as we are, that technology can solve everything, or that everything is just going to collapse and unravel very quickly. And you know, what we don't have are the stories about the generation, the culture that looks something like peak oil and climate change square in the face and responds with compassion and creativity and ingenuity. That's the story that transition is trying to tell.
My name is Peter Joseph. I'm the founder of a social sustainability organization called the Zeitgeist Movement, which in form has about 1,000 chapters across 70 countries, and basically we're all working together to try to bridge some differences about economic problems that are working its way across the world: social destabilization, unemployment, debt crisis, environmental destabilization. And this community is attempting to bring new sustainable ideas to the forefront to revolutionize economy as we know it, hence revolutionize human values as we know it, so we can try to create a new way of life. You know, it's a grassroots movement with that basic premise.
This movement is essentially a social movement. It's easier to describe what it isn't really. It's not a political movement. We don't really recognize politics as a viable option in addressing the issues that we talk about. It's a voluntary social movement, really, a grassroots social movement that centers on actual sustainability. We need a society that functions on a physical level, that actually has advanced, intelligent, automated to the most degree that you can systems to enable efficient transport, efficient energy usage, efficient land usage. Part of our understandings are that we need sustainable city systems, very much like those spoken about in the Venus Project or by Buckminster Fuller or many other futuristic city planners. So that's sort of the first level, is we understand that Earth is a finite resource. Earth is actually entirely a resource. We think about wave and wind and tide. It's in fact one thing. This is the resource we're on. This is the rock that we're on that's hurtling through space. And we need to live on it. We need to continue to live on it. And as well as possible.
Why do I like the zeitgeist movement? Why do I advocate for the zeitgeist movement? It's very simple. I love this.
What we currently refer to as capitalism under various guises around the world, suggested in various doses and concoctions in the prescriptive manuals of political philosophy and economic texts, the monetary-based price system as a means of coordinating and organizing so-called economic activity of consumers, producers, and owners of resources is ultimately unsustainable. The reason for this is that it's essentially predicated upon linear consumption, and you cannot run a linear system on a finite planet.
Join the zeitgeist movement. It is exciting. The people that you meet are fantastic. They think like you, and we're out to make a difference on something that really matters.
It was whatever you needed to do to get money. And what's happened now with the value system disorder is that since that's the pursuit, that's the divine drive of the system, that's what status is defined by, that's what your success is defined by, that everyone can blindly look the other way with how much destruction is occurring in the world.
And when I look at our species, I just see one that's divided. We're so in our infancy, we're having to learn the most basic lessons in the 21st century, you know, and the zeitgeist movement and a resource-based economy doesn't go like that. It advocates that the earth is the common heritage of everyone to share. And not for us all just to dive in and take what we want, but for us to intelligently manage the planet.
The monetary system has come to an end. It was very useful for a while. I've not been anti-money in all of history. It's changed its usage in history. You can't be blanket anti-money and still understand the history of money. But we've obviously come to the end of that paradigm now, because now it isn't serving us anymore. And that was the goal to begin with. It was to ensure that there was enough labor, so there are enough resources, so that we have the system, so that people are okay.
The zeitgeist movement, from my perspective, it's all about quality, it's all about preserving our planet, and it's all about thriving on human creativity and innovation.
In fact, the truth is this entire system of cyclical consumption that we have in this country is the cause of all of our problems.
Zeitgeist addendum was mind-boggling. Dots began to connect.
Now is that time to move to that next level.
I advocate the zeitgeist movement, the Venus Project, and the resource-based economies because they represent the only viable alternatives to the corrupt and unsustainable system that we have today.
People aren't following this because Jacques Fresco is their version of Jesus or because Peter Joseph is a good public speaker. They have looked at it and decided that it makes sense to them.
Basically trying to get people from around the world to discuss why, in a very concise manner, they advocate the zeitgeist movement, the Venus Project, and of course a resource-based economy.
The zeitgeist movement.
Why I advocate the zeitgeist.
I think the zeitgeist is
Today, around the world, many people often say, I wish we could live like Americans. I know you've heard this before. Well, no. Conspicuous consumption patterns of the American culture should be despised by all other countries on this planet. We have 5% of the population and we consume 30% of the world's resources. It's insane. In a resource-based economy where we base our production and distribution on physical references, starting with the carrying capacity of the earth, where we streamline our labor expression towards things that have a long-term social return, when we get rid of the cancer known as the financial system and start to share our resources in a diligent way, working together, avoiding the false values of materialism and consumption pushed upon our culture, we find that we can provide a high quality of life for everyone on this planet while eliminating all of the central reasons for war, poverty, destitution, violence, criminal behavior, neuroses. It would be the dawn of a world we could actually label a civilization. And if that isn't a goal worth working towards, I don't know what is.
The future rests in our hands, yours and mine. It rests in the capacity which we totally have as a species to make radical shifts when our survival is necessary. And maybe we are the people who will emerge to create an alternative that enables our species to survive in peace on the planet. Otherwise, we will not survive.
The Venus Project is the redesign of a culture in which the elements that comprise the culture are different. What the Venus Project has to offer is a way of life without ambiguity to change the relationship between people. When you break the patterns that have been established by existing society, you begin to move people in a new direction. As long as there's prisons, police, armies, navies, we are not civilized. When the world joins together and agrees to use the earth intelligently, that'll be the beginning of the civilized age.
People say, well, the trouble with you, John, is you want to give people things for nothing. Let me tell you a little about things for nothing. Just being born in any technical country today, you got the lights, the telephone, the washing machine, air transportation. You had nothing to do with that. You got it for nothing.
To build a way of life worthy of man, to humanize society, is neither communist, fascist, nor socialist, nor democratic. To break away from the artificiality, the regimentation that dominates our society today. We feel that machines ought to do the filthy or the repetitious or the boring job. That man has to be free to pursue the higher things, the higher possibilities of man. All of the marvels of science and technology, all of the electronics and mechanical wonders are just so many millions of tons of junk unless it enhances the lives of men. The reason we emphasize machines and technologies is to free men, to find the meaning of their own existence and lives.
Our problems today are not political. Our problems are technical. Everything that you have, your radio, your television, your airplanes, your transportation, is all technical. If it wasn't for technology, you'd be pulling boats along the Volga River. It's technology that moves things forward.
Human beings are not self-operating entities. We are operated by many resident forces. Of course, many of us are not aware of that. It looks like we're perfectly free, making our own decisions. I know I think for myself. I'm sure you do. That's an illusion. You're indoctrinated to a set of values that are unreal. Indoctrination continuously. And then all of us together sing, we are free. Listen, we are free.
What we are introducing is a new method of organizing and running society based on the methods of science and technology applied to the social system.
You have a society that's a predatory society. If you get your car banged up, somebody makes money. You get a toothache, the dentist makes $1,500. So everybody makes money on every form of misery.
There's no final architecture or final frontiers or final city. Even the best city I design will be a straitjacket to the kids of the future. They'll design their own cities. I don't want to follow anybody, and I don't want anybody to follow me. If what I say makes sense, do it. If it doesn't, get off. To build a following where people admire you, that's dangerous. trying to solve your problems politically by electing this political party or that political party. All politics is immersed in corruption. We have the brains, the know-how, the technology, and the feasibility to build an entirely new civilization. The choice lies with you. There are no Negro problems, or Polish problems, or Jewish problems, or Greek problems, or women's problems. They're human problems. Human problems.
We could either develop paradise on earth or oblivion, wipe ourselves out. Only the future will tell what you do to make the future.